Welcome to another fantastic Friday call with Reed and the gang. Brandon's on, and a very special guest today, Aubrey Thompson. Aubrey, I'm really glad you're on the show today, and I want to tell everybody that Aubrey was absolutely the very first FDN student ever. I think
That's right.
Yeah. Before I even started the course, Aubrey was like a private student. She was accessing the BioHealth labs, and they turned her over to me to do some training. So that's really fantastic that you're here with us, and that you have a great story to tell. And very, very pleased to know you. And again, of all the people who can say, "Well, I go back quite a ways with Reed," you go back as far as could be gone back, in terms of FDN. So fantastic.
Oh, I'm super happy to be here too. Thank you, Reed.
Welcome, Aubrey.
All right. Well, I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk with Aubrey here. So, Aubrey, we're going to launch right into talking with you here today.
Okay.
Like Reed said, one of the very first, or the very first FDN. So maybe tell us a little more about that. Maybe talk about what you were doing kind of before you met Reed, and how Reed started to influence you with the FDN way, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, I already had a degree in nutrition, holistic nutrition, and I had my own practice. And I was doing metabolic typing and hair mineral analysis, and I was struggling with some of my own health goals. I really had some blocking factors that I couldn't get to the bottom of, and that's when I had reached out to BioHealth Labs, and I was led to Reed. And, we used some of the clinical testing, mainly, I think we did the entire clinical testing profile that FDN offers, and we determined some really key issues that were affecting my system that had gone unchecked because I didn't have access to checking them. I didn't have the ability to, be a proper health detective because these tools were not available to me. So we found some GI infection, and we found some severe adrenal fatigue, and put together a program that really helped me recover. It took a little while for me, but with everything else I was doing as a platform with the good eating, and I did a lot of the Dress for Success that Reed teaches already, I needed to know these blocking factors that were stopping my success. So it was a great learning experience, and a real honor to have worked with Reed.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, and very exciting times, because I was just making the decision at that point to come out with the FDN course, and you actually helped me make that decision. Hooking up with you was the deciding factor. There might not be an FDN course if it wasn't for you, Aubrey.
Yeah. Did you ask how was the FDN course for me?
Brandon did, yeah.
Oh, the FDN course was just amazing. I learned so much from you. You have such vast knowledge in depth about so many different topics. I learned so much about the role of the adrenals and the different areas that they work with the hormone and the hormones in the GI system. And I really took away the value of clinical lab testing as opposed to doing guesswork, which prior to working with you, Reed, is basically what, you only have so many tools in the toolbox. Being a holistic practitioner, you can work with a platform of good food and good eating and certain core supplements, but without really having an idea of what's going on in the internal system, how the GI system is working, and other factors influencing digestion, assimilation, glandular function, hormonal function, you're really limited at how much you can help a client. So the FDN course really helped to shed light on the whole process of being a good detective and a good functional diagnostic nutrition person, that you can offer your clients so much more value with those tools. It's not the only thing I use, but it has allowed me to get much deeper than I would without having those clinical labs.
Aubrey, you have quite a story there as far as your health challenges, like in the past, what you went through. Would you care to kind of go into some detail on that? Kind of let us know your story.
Sure. I was very sick most of my life, actually, and in my early 20s, it was found that I had type 2 diabetes. I did not live a very healthy lifestyle. I grew up on McDonald's food, fast food, Dunkin' Donuts. I actually managed McDonald's for 3 years when I was in college, and I ate the food breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had liver damage, so I had fatty liver, and I wasn't able to function. I was bedridden for most, in my 20s, most of my days. I just had to sleep. I couldn't keep up with my peers. And then it got to the point where I would eat, and then an hour later I would pass out. I would literally pass out, turn green, pass out. And of course, I knew something was horribly wrong. I was depressed, and I went to a doctor, and with a list of symptoms I really wanted to get to the bottom of it. I was very motivated, and she spent about 2 minutes, didn't ask me one question about my history, my diet, my symptoms, anything, and wrote me a prescription for Prozac. And I remember walking out of that doctor's office, I was crying in the elevator, and I was just devastated, thinking something is wrong with me. I felt like I was dying. Something was really wrong with me, and I needed answers, and that's what really motivated me to go get those answers, and that's when I got myself involved in first herbology. I became certified herbalist, and then into nutrition with the type 2 diabetes, because I had not gotten the answers yet. So I went back to school and studied and learned so much about myself, and to the point where then I was able to ask for the right tests, because I guess nowadays you need to walk into a doctor's office and actually ask for the tests that you need. It's really hard to get them otherwise. And then finding Reed, getting even deeper to the issues that were at the root of some of my symptoms. So to this day, I don't have any symptoms of diabetes. My liver is fully recovered, and I've cleared all the infections that we found in my system, and adrenal fatigue is no longer a problem for me. So it took about 6 years, though, for me to fully recover. It was a long journey.
And you said you didn't fit the typical profile of a diabetic.
I didn't, because I was lean, and so, and that's why it actually affected my organs a lot more. I didn't have those fat reserves, the water and fat that typically protects you from toxicity. I was that much more toxic because I just didn't have anywhere for those toxins to go, so they were affecting my liver and my gallbladder and my blood. So I was, I was non-functioning. So to really detox my system, had been an ongoing process to get all of that junk out of me, because toxicity will store. It doesn't really have an avenue for your body to metabolize it, so it stores in the body. And if you're not working at, getting rid of it through certain detoxification pathways and mechanisms, it's going to stay there.
Mm-hmm. So you said it took a little bit of time to get where you feel like, you're in great shape now. Were there points along the way that were challenging, or were there points along the way that maybe you noticed, wow, this was really a key finding on a lab result, or were there kind of milestones you could kind of track when it comes to that?
Yes. The blood sugar issue was tough because I felt like I was doing all the right things and still couldn't seem to get my blood sugar regulated. And working with FDN and with Reed, when we pulled the GI 401H stool test, and we found the presence of H. pylori. And H. pylori is a bacteria that affects 2/3 of the world. It's very easily passed through saliva, but it's pretty aggressive. And one of the issues that it can cause, amongst many and pretty much anything, is that it can really affect your absorption and assimilation, and it can affect your blood sugar. So I was having this blocking factor there that was really affecting the function of my pancreas, that in the way that my body metabolized proteins and fats and was able to digest them, that was creating blood sugar issues for me. So identifying that and getting rid of the infection in my system and the dysbiosis, the imbalance of bacteria, was key in helping heal my digestive tract and my digestive system and my eliminatory organs, so that I could absorb the nutrients I was taking in and the good food I was eating. That, to me, I felt like should have been healing, but couldn't, because I had this infection there that was in the way. So that was a huge finding. And then again, recovering the whole adrenal fatigue profile helped me tremendously too.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you're a naturally disciplined person, where it was just as you learned things you implemented them, or were there some things like with diet or exercise or rest or something, those categories, where it was more of a challenge for you personally?
Well, I am a very motivated person and very disciplined, but I had trouble. I think one of the areas I have trouble is with balance. Sometimes I push way too far. I'll take way too many supplements. I'll do way too much exercise. I'll go above and beyond what's needed. So I can tend to stress my system. And that's where even to this day, I have to, that's my Achilles heel, is I have to find that balance. So taking the proper rest to heal was hard for me. Taking just the right amount of nutrients and supplements and not overdoing it, which would, put you into more fatigue. That was something that I had to learn balance with. Exercise was tough because I also have a lot of structural issues, or challenges, and that combined with the adrenal fatigue, it was really hard to find the right kind of exercise. And I think, honestly, that the fact that I did have some structural issues probably saved me from being even worse in the adrenal fatigue, because a lot of people will overdo the cardio and will be over-exercising to the point where they create an adrenal issue, and that wasn't my problem. I needed to find balance and try to get more movement in my life. So those are some of the challenges. But diet, I already had that going before I linked into Reed, and rest and stress reduction was some of the things that needed help.
Excellent. Well, we all have little areas that are difficult. They're more challenging, or more. I guess I would say it impacts your life more. I remember last month we had Michael Roseline on, and he was talking about his lifestyle was totally in like the bar scene and the party scene and all of that, and you lost a lot of friends in the process of changing over, and to kind of lose your social circle a little bit in the process of making those changes. It sounded like you were already kind of in this vein of things. You just kind of needed those extra tools, that extra information.
Well, I wasn't, though, because, my lifestyle in my teens, my early 20s in college was, fast food, junk food. I had an eating disorder as well. I ended up, some of my main food sources was like the Slim Fast program. That was one of my main sources of nutrients. So my crowds definitely changed. It was as well, because I couldn't hang out with the same type of people and get away from that lifestyle. Fast food is extremely addictive because it's loaded with so many chemicals. So it was a difficult process for me to cut that habit out, and it did take a lot of discipline, especially because they're all over the place and it's a convenience. I remember throwing out my microwave. I just made sure I didn't have anything around me that was going to throw me off, and made sure I just really kept things clean, and encouraged anyone who was in my environment to do the same with me. And at this point, I've trained all my friends and family they pretty much know what I like, what I need, and I don't get any problems from anybody. But I know some people still do with alcohol, especially social occasions and things where they choose not to, that it can be a socially pressure situation.
Talking about working at McDonald's, eating it 3 times a day, kind of reminds me of the Super Size Me movie that came out several years ago.
Yeah, I think I think that I could have done that movie.
yeah, right. I think so. I needed to stand.
I think I did. I lived that movie, but I did it for 3 years.
Okay, yeah, even longer.
Yeah.
So, Well, let's talk about where you are right now. So what does your practice look like? I know you're an FDN and certified metabolic typing advisor and other certifications in nutrition. What are you up to now? Are you private practice, working with other folks? What do you have going right now?
Yeah, I have a private practice. I see mostly one-on-one individuals and families, and I do some corporate programs as well. So wellness programs, which typically run 5 to 8 weeks long, and I run through the whole metabolic type testing, hair mineral analysis testing, and then I offer individual sessions within that program as well for people to dig deeper if they want to get more specific. But my individual clients, most of them I do the adrenal stress test and the GI testing, and I do hair analysis and metabolic typing right off the bat for a lot of them, and then some as needed, because I offer those services individual. But most of my programs are packages. I sell in 6 to 12 week packages to individuals, and I focus a lot on gastrointestinal.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you saw a certain symptom or certain complaint people came to you with mostly that you noticed was a trend?
Yeah, bar none. It's GI. The GI system is not working efficiently. So, I mean, almost every client I work with, we're finding some kind of bacterial dysbiosis, imbalance of bacteria in the gut that is inhibiting digestion assimilation, causing adrenal stress, other types of stress. And so that's really my focus, is cleaning up that first. And then there are other things, of course, but that is such a huge blocking factor. If the gut is not working efficiently, it's really hard to go and correct hormones and correct glands or thyroid or other things in the body if the basics of getting nutrients to absorb is not on target.
Yeah. What about age range? What do you see there?
I work pretty big age range because I'm working with kids, which typically are my clients' children that they end up taking to me after they've seen me. So I've worked with young kids as young as, I think my youngest really is maybe 6 or 7, and my oldest right now is 75. So I work quite a huge range. I prefer my best client is really within mid-30s, early 40s range. I do like working with teenagers because if they do their work, if they follow through, they heal super quick. So do kids. So it's just hard to get kids to take supplements sometimes or to follow certain meal plans. Same with teenagers. But if they do it, the results are like within weeks, as opposed to months and months with adults or older clients.
So why the 30s and 40s range? What's good about that range?
Well, I just think that they're still young enough where a lot of the issues that we find can be addressed. They tend to be motivated and able to follow through. I mean, although I would love to just work with teenagers and kids, it's a lot harder to get them to follow through on some of the program guidelines. I feel like that middle range, the follow through and motivation is still there, and their body's ability to bounce back is still there. Once they reach, 60s, 70s, I do find it to be a lot more challenging if they haven't been taking care of themselves, obviously, because it's 20 more years that have gone by without any work. So, and I do get that. I get a lot of train wrecks that haven't done any work and they want a quick fix, and that can be super challenging in this field. I think for anyone who's doing this kind of work on a holistic level, it's slow and steady. I mean, myself being young at the time that I started all this and finding the answers in my early 30s, it still took me a good 6 years to really, really reclaim my health, because it's such a process of learning, applying, what's working, what's not working. I usually tend to get results a lot faster than that, but I was certain people, depending on how sick they're showing up at the door at, it can be, a steady process. So the older the client, the slower that can take, I find.
Right. So do you ever have to turn anybody away? Like, what does your intake process kind of look like, or do you do an interview process in the beginning with people and try to see if they're right to work with you, or what does that look like?
I do. I have they do an orientation on my website that's automatically emailed to me, and then I have an orientation session that I schedule. And during that session, I go over their goals, I go over their lifestyle, I go over their history, their motivation, what's in the way. I rarely turn a client down, but occasionally I will. If they're traveling all the time, they don't have time at all to even shop, or there's been times where they just haven't even had time to fill out a form that I send them. If you don't have time to fill out a form, I don't think you're going to have time to actually use and apply the information, because it's definitely some lifestyle changes. So, I won't take a client that is not motivated to heal and does not put that in some kind of priority in their life. But I really attract that kind of client. It's just usually people find me from word of mouth who have have a friend who's gotten results, or a family member, and they have a similar situation, and they're really motivated to feel better. So I'm kind of lucky that way that I haven't had to do a ton of marketing.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. So do you talk about expectations also then quite a bit, as far as, are you pretty straightforward when you're talking to people about what would be expected
Very
of them?
straightforward, because you never know, as a practitioner, you really never know what kind of results you're going to get. Every single person that walks in the door is a completely new experience, no matter what tools are in your toolbox. Everyone is so different. What works for one, it's going to be a completely new profile for another one who may have the same exact symptoms that you think, oh, I know how to address this. I addressed this with this other person, and it was total success. I can just duplicate that. Not correct. So it's always ground zero. Everyone is brand new, and it's always starting from scratch with their lifestyles, their thought processes, the people in their lives, what they've already gone through, their habits. So there's just a lot of factors to consider, and then just trying to figure out all the stressors that could be influencing their system, and one by one trying to pluck them out and provide the right support. So I go over this with every individual client, and I let them know that there really is no guarantee, but this is what there are some things we can expect, and some things we're not going to know what's going to happen. Especially with people who want to lose weight, should be very, very straightforward with some of these clients, because weight can be caused by so many different factors. It's oftentimes not food at all, and it's metabolic issues, a lot of hereditary issues, genetic disposition, glandular, toxicity, and all of them there can be some tough cases to really turn the switch or get the body to shift its metabolic point, and that can be very challenging. And those type of clients can be very impatient at times when they just want to lose weight, and they think, oh, I got to see a nutritionist and change my diet and I'm going to lose weight. It's totally not that easy. So everyone, I definitely try to talk very straightforward and honest about what to expect, because it's always different.
No, you said everybody's different, but are there things that you see, there are challenges for most people, or what's the most difficult part for people to change? Like, is it diet? Is there mental things, emotional things? What kind of comes to the surface most often?
I think there are categories. So there are a lot of categories that I'll get. There are groups of clients I have that, that's in that group. So there's the clients that just don't give themselves time. They don't put themselves first in their life. So to make lifestyle changes that require them to come first, to eat, to stop working and eat lunch, to actually buy food and have it ready for themselves, and to take the extra time and effort to prepare in advance, to think in advance, to plan in advance, because their lives are so crazy and eaten up with just things to do, and they just gotten away from themselves. So that can be a common theme, a common challenge. And then I have the group of clients who have food addictions, where it's very hard for them to be strict with themselves because they feel like they're depriving themselves. Their little child comes up and screams and does a tantrum and kicks it, and but I want that and I want to eat that. So it's not even about really being deprived, because the metabolic type diet is definitely not depriving, and most of the foods that diet plans or menus that I come up with are fantastic and delicious. So my clients tend to not be missing out on anything, but there's a little part of them that just doesn't want to give up certain things. So that can be challenging. Alcohol, definitely challenging, because it's a social. There's so much more to it than just the alcohol itself. There's a social expectation around drinking alcohol that a lot of my clients can be challenged by. They feel separated from their friends or family by not drinking, and there are periods of time during detoxing or healing that alcohol is really something that has to be avoided, and that can be a challenge.
So there are areas that you're talking about, are those like in the 6 to 12 week program that they're going through? Do you have sessions that are set aside just to talk about these issues, or do you kind of address them as they come up throughout the
I typically address them as they come up. I talk about them before they come up. I will ask people too, what are your feelings about, in the original orientation session, I'll ask, what are your feelings about, what if you couldn't drink for 2 or 3 months? Is that a problem for you? How is that going to affect your lifestyle? I'll try to cover each issue, and how do you feel about giving up this food item, or what is your favorite types of foods? What kind of cravings do you have, and what if you had to give those up? So these are a lot. I do try to vet a lot of these questions in the first session, so I can gauge how this client might do and what kind of work they're going to need and support. Some clients they need text or email support every day from me to try to stay on target. And others, they just take it and run with it. And how would you feel about taking supplements, and how many supplements are acceptable to you? Can you swallow 10 pills a day? Are you good with that, or are you more like, I can handle 3? So, this is all information is important when you're finding out how successful you can be with a client, because in how quickly you can get success, because certain programs require a lot of work, and some programs maybe a few little tweaks and they're good to go, which is rare, but I've had some. Mostly I get people who need some in-depth work, some detoxing, a lot of organ support, a lot of gland support, a lot of diet changes. So they can go somewhat quickly, where we do it all at once, or we can go baby steps, but that's going to be a lot longer, and I have to let them know this. Because depending on their personality type, and if they get overwhelmed easily or not, I have to go their pace. So I have to explain it up front in order for them to really understand how their body heals, what it takes to heal, and what their commitment level is going to be and what it needs to be.
Well, guys, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Aubrey Thompson, CMTA and FDN practitioner, and as you can tell, she's very experienced. She's been doing this for quite a while, very good at what she does. So if you have a question for her, I'm sure she wouldn't mind a question or two from the audience. So if you have a question, feel free to just dial 1, and we'll raise your hand. I'll bring you on. We'll ask for a question here. If you want to jump in there, call-in number there is 347-637-1378. If you want to call in, you can ask for a question. I've got several more questions for Aubrey, but again, welcome to jump in. Reed, anything you want to add at this point?
I'm just really impressed with the whole story, and Aubrey, like if you could go back in time a little bit, what advice do you wish you had back then, that you didn't get? I mean, I know you had amazing training, lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely had amazing training. Yes.
What would you like to have known then that you do know now? I mean, it's going to be, 2008, I think, is when we started working together. So
I know it was a long time. I was trying to do the math when I was doing thinking about it, but it was like 8.5 years or something. It's really that's a hard question, Reed, because I feel like I feel like a lot of the direction I took after the FDN is based on, that was kind of the platform that then a lot of different avenues kind of trickled in, and but I don't know that I can even answer that. I think for my healing, I feel like that was what catapulted the healing to start its true process is the lab testing and really finding the answers about the gastrointestinal and the blocking factors. And then it was just fine-tuning what I needed to do for my body. There was a lot of emotional stuff that I went through that was affecting me that I wasn't aware of back then, and that required healing. There was a lot of structural stuff I wasn't aware of as well. So there were some factors that I just didn't have the knowledge of. But in terms of what FDN had to offer and what I took away with it, it was really complete. So I don't think I can say that I have something else that I learned in addition that could have changed things. I always learn more supplement knowledge. Something I'm always learning, other product lines that can get the job done faster, better, whatever. But I think
that's the thing that I find. We have no control over that. I'm not in the supplement business. I'm not even in the lab business. People think I am sometimes. Oh, you're the lab guy. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I know a few things about the lab business that are very interesting, but those come and go.
Exactly.
Those come and go. And I think what keeps me and you and others focused on the foundations is just that we keep getting people who will engage with us, and we get good results. But that's the other thing I would say to do that you're doing, and you just keep hammering away at the foundational principles and factors.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be that complicated, and I think a lot of practitioners, maybe newbies that are getting into the field, might feel overwhelmed themselves at the complicated cases that they come across, where it really is very basic. Fix the digestion, fix the GI, get people eating right, get the toxins out of the environment, out of the body, address some of the emotional components, have them get structurally evaluated, and pull the tests and start to just one by one. It's a slow process, but one by one, you're just identifying stressors and starting to pluck them out, or even making a client aware is healing. Just awareness is healing in and of itself, and then giving just even minor support can change a person's life. It doesn't have to be super complicated, but there are going to be cases that are complicated. There are some people that will not heal, that they're not ready to heal energetically, or something about them that doesn't want to heal, and nothing you can do is going to make a difference. So there are going to be those cases, but in general, you can help so many people with just the very basic platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it really interesting what you just said about the energetic level. There's things that might be going on in people who aren't healing. And it's because
absolutely.
It's because what you're doing with them, or what is actually, this is just something I read the other day that Bill Wolcott forwarded to me. It was about suppressing something that was actually an escape for something that's even deeper. Like I can't think of a good example right now, but let's just say you are. Quote unquote, fixing the thyroid or the adrenals, and yet the expression of thyroid problem or adrenal problem is actually has a foundation deeper and far away, let's say. Mm-hmm. And so you can actually make a person worse by suppressing, in a way, interfering with the body's natural process.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's why we don't get results with some people. So you're really not working on the right stuff.
Well, exactly. And that's why I also, in my practice, I do EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, just to help bring awareness to certain fight or flight automatic responses that are happening in the body that a person might not even know about, that is just going on in the background running their system, and they're not even aware of it. And so becoming aware of it and trying to change some of the thought processes can actually have a physically healing effect on the body. So there's that component in addition to the physical things that we use, like supplements and food and exercise, that also play a role in our overall health. So that's why it can be a complicated, some cases can be complicated. But I find that once you start teaching the foundational principles, people become a lot more aware and grounded in their body, where the emotional things start to come forward that they're able to heal because they have the energy to do it, and they have the energy to look at that, and they're not suppressing it anymore.
Yeah, it's weird where some of that stuff can come from. Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have some more questions, Brandon? Does anyone got their hand raised? Yeah.
I was looking to see anybody want to. Nope, not yet. So we've got a shy crowd here, but that's all right. So are we talking about business a little bit? I guess kind of like Reba's doing, kind of going backwards, getting into just starting business even before FDN. What were some things that you found to be challenging getting into business, or was it challenging? Were you just confident from the get-go and just it worked great, or were some things that you learned and changed and tweaked along the way?
Oh, yeah, I've totally changed my practice over time. I think one of the things that a lot of practitioners have trouble with when they get started is, what do they charge? Like, what are they worth? And then feeling confident about what you're charging people. So that was a work in progress for me. When I first started, I wasn't paying myself anything. I was burning out pretty quickly. I was exhausted from, because it is somewhat of a lot of work working with people who are not feeling well, and you want to get them well, and you're putting all your 100% energy into it. You got to pay yourself. So that was something that I learned. Probably took me the first 7 years to learn and then start doing. And I found that once I raised my prices, actually my business exploded. I actually got a lot more clients than when I was not paying myself. So I think it's important to pay yourself. And so that was a work in progress. And then deciding to do package programs, that was a really huge aha moment for me too, because I didn't want to just work with someone one time. You can't get results just once when they come in and you do a consult and you do a diet, and then they disappear. People's lives get very busy, whether they're motivated or not, or committed or not. If you're not going to offer them something that they can buy in the moment that keeps them in the game, a lot of times you can lose clients that way. So offering and only doing 6 week or 3 month or 6 month packages was something that was a big turning point for my business as well. And so I get paid, I have them pay up front for the whole package. They're committed, they're locked in, and they tend to do more of the work. They tend to succeed more oftentimes because they're buying a program for themselves, as opposed to just checking out doing one session and checking it out and trying it and seeing if it works. And, they're committing themselves to a longer term process. So that was something that I implemented, in coming up with an actual program guide that I give each client was helpful, definitely a helpful tool, because it helps you as a practitioner to, in your mind, just create your program, put it in writing, and then you have this to offer to your clients as in the orientation session, so they know exactly what they're getting for the whole 6 weeks or however long you want to do the program and what it entails. So those are some of the things that changed, but so much has over the years.
So what do your follow-up sessions look like? So within that package, are you talking about like a 15, 20-minute session with them, or do you make those?
No, every
longer?
session is an hour. I give a full hour. It's packed with information. The first session is included, so the orientation would, once they sign that package program, the orientation is their first session. And then the second session, we typically go over test results, and then we start to get into specifics on their diet. I always work with diet and platform of diet first because I want to make sure that we get toxicity out, make sure, test their motivation in terms of being able to avoid certain foods and alcohol, and we fine-tune that plan and work through some of the challenges that might come up. And then I start to work with supplemental support following that and detoxification. I have most of my clients doing coffee enemas. So we do a lot of intestinal cleansing, and I do a lot of environmental toxicity work. We're educating people about the toxicity that they're around and in their environment and what they have control of, what they don't have control of, what they're willing to change. So it's a lot of educating. It's a lot of retesting through some of the forms. I send out a lot of forms for them to fill out in the beginning, and then every 3 weeks we redo the forms and we track progress that way. So there's a lot of data collection throughout the time that they work with me.
Very interesting. So it's not just you're talking to them, getting a feel, it's also quantified. So is that something like our, maybe it's before the time here, but I know Bill had an influence on some of our intake forms, so like your adrenal stress indicators and some of the numerical symptom evaluators, that type of thing you're using?
Yeah, I use some of those. I also have another one. It's a nutritional survey that really categorizes a lot of different areas in the body and really breaks it up into systems. I use that oftentimes. It's like a 3-page intake, and it's super complete so that I can really get a feel for weaker areas and where to work on first. I also do some nutritional response testing, so I work that into the sessions as well. And we kind of fine tune along the way and pull lab tests when needed, extra lab tests when needed.
So what about the marketing side of this? I think you said you don't do. It's mostly word of mouth. Is that still how it is? It's all just steady
stream? It's mostly
stream?
word of mouth. It depends on how much a person wants to work. I like my free time, so I don't like to fill my whole day with work. So I have a pretty good balance that way. But if I wanted to work more, I'd have to do a little bit more marketing. But typically it's word of mouth. I am in a couple of publications for local country clubs. And like I said, I have some clients where I work with their corporate offices for their employees. So I'll do that. And what else? I do some online media stuff through Yelp, Google, and Facebook, but very little. That's about all I do. If I wanted to pull in more clients, it's fairly easy to do. I would just do some seminars. It's the easiest way to pull in clients, just to set up a seminar at the public library. Some libraries, they need a deposit to use the facility, and some don't. But they'll advertise for you, and you can do additional advertising yourself. And I've gotten a full room of like 40, 50 people in that venue before and gained like 3 or 4 or 5 clients just from 1 hour, 2 hour doing a talk at a library. So those are cheap and easy venues to pull in more clientele. Local Whole Foods tend to sometimes have extra space where they offer classes that you can schedule and use to do seminars at. So if you have a good rapport with your Whole Foods or health food stores, or it'd be good to get a good rapport with, because you can gain a lot of clientele through those venues. And just public educational courses to offer some of your knowledge.
It sounds like mostly you just do good work and get results, and people just start telling other people about you.
Yeah, that's mostly what I do. And I've done, like in the past, I've done the seminars. When I was building my practice, I did more of the seminars than I do now. But it is very valuable to get yourself out there like that. It's just, like I said, it depends on how big you want to be. So I'm pretty comfortable with my clientele load. So
there's no shortage of clients, you're saying then?
No, I get a steady flow.
Yep. Right. What about upcoming projects for you? Anything kind of in the works you've been working on, or where are you kind of heading over the next 6 months or a year?
Well, I have a book that I wrote that I'm completing hopefully this year, the final touches on. And I just pretty much started doing the corporate wellness program. So that's new, and so I'm excited about that. And one of my goals is to start to teach. I would really love to teach some courses, and at some point be able to certify, groups of people on some level, whether it's metabolic typing or some kind of certification that I can offer in these classes, do a 6 or 8 week course for practitioners, and to help teach them how to be more effective practitioners and utilize all the tools that are available to them. Because I find in this field we need a lot of tools. The more you have in your toolbox, the more you're able to help each client that walks through your door, because everybody is so individual with what they need. So the more knowledge you have, knowledge is great, and having a lot of background about food and about supplements is great, but having a lot of tools to pull from really can help you get the job done.
We have to let us know when the book comes out. I'm sure we'll be able to
I will.
to endorse that. It sounds like I saw one title here. Is it kind of like mostly a nutrition book, or do you have a working title right now?
Yeah, I do, but I changed it so many times. I don't even want to try to.
Gotcha.
But it is. I do a lot of shopping tours at Whole Foods. So part of the book is it's really the do's and don'ts and why. So a lot of people, I find it's hard to teach every client all of the reasons why to avoid something in their diet and why to replace it with this. And anything that is toxic can be replaced easily by something that is not so toxic. So the book is really based on my Whole Foods tours and some of what I go over in them, which is sprouted and cultured grains versus just regular grains that are not sprouted or cultured. It's harder to digest, and I give the reasons why and different things in every food category to replace with, and then I give examples and menus, and so it's basically kind of like a healthy shopping tour guide. Because I found that a lot of energy I was putting into teaching people these things, or finding out later that they had something in their diet, for instance, gum. People would come into my office on an appointment and be chewing gum. I was like, what kind of gum are you chewing? And we find that there's all this aspartame and chemicals in it, and FDC dyes. And I was losing some information that I needed to the ability to give all these clients. It's so much stuff, you can't cover everything. And people just didn't know. They were just throwing toxins back into their system and didn't know there were other things they could do. They didn't have to give up chewing gum, but just chew the gum that didn't have this chemical in it. So that's really the book, the basis of the book.
Well, sounds like a great resource.
Yeah, I think it will be. Yeah, okay.
I have a question.
If you're open. Okay, Reed.
On your lectures and things like that, what were some of the most popular subjects, or what kind of ad line did you use to get people there?
I think one of them was one-size-fits-all eating, and I kind of did a lot on metabolic typing as a platform. I did a lot on aging, healthy aging, and how to beat the time clock in terms of looking better than your actual age. that was a big one because people always want to look good. So, and energizing, maximizing your energy, vitality, sleep, all of those things.
Yeah. That's right along with what I have done. Stress, hormones, digestion.
Yeah, I've done the stress, the whole stress and hormonal talk. That was definitely on the whole hormonal pathways and what leads to stress and different types of factors that influence your stress response. And that was a great lecture as well.
Yep. Yeah, I was just curious.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, well, let's just bring on a couple people here. It's a 707 area code. 707, you're on the air. What's your name and what's your question for Aubrey?
Hi, this is Amanda. I'm calling from Petrolia, California. And actually, my question was just answered. I just wanted to hear more about your seminar topics. So thanks for asking that question, Reed.
Reed,
and this has been wonderful.
Kind of felt that question was out there.
So I'm done. I can put my hand down. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Amanda. On the same wavelength there as Reed. Great minds think alike. All right. And one more here. I've got 703 area code. What's your name and what's your question for Aubrey? Hello.
Hi, this is can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. This is Lisa Jackson. I'm from outside of Washington, D.C., and hope to be a new graduate as soon as I finish my last little bit here. Great call, Aubrey, and thank you. I want to know a couple of things. How long has it been since you graduated from FDN? And are we going to be offering heavy metal or micronutrient testing? Because I have a similar story. I mean, I'm a retired nurse. I've been a health coach for 5 years. I have a private practice, but I'm still been struggling with my own issues. And I think, heavy metals is a big piece of that. And I've been doing the micronutrient testing for a while. So wondering I guess it's a question for FDN too, if that's going to be a part of FDN protocol.
I've been a graduate, I think, for 8.5 years for FDN. And one of the markers, though, that I've used prior to that, even to track some heavy metal toxicity, is hair mineral analysis, which you can get certified through metabolic typing, or I think there are other TAI labs, trace mineral labs. And typically, heavy metals are usually an issue, and Reed, you'll probably agree with me, when your detoxification system isn't functioning well or your digestion isn't functioning well. So it usually is an area that has to be worked on along with other factors that you're working through. So I assume if you don't have a test for it for your clients, you typically do want to assume that there's some toxicity, such as heavy metals, that have to be worked on along with bacterial issues.
Yeah, Lisa, as far as testing goes, you're right. HTMA would be one there. There's multiple ones through the medical director program that we can help you run there and support you on as you need to with a consult. And then also we're going to be getting into some additional actual training in it more than advanced courses. Our FDN advanced courses will cover some more of that, get into it in more detail. Just something that's hard to, again, we kind of talk about there's so much in the FDN certification course right now. It's hard to pack those things in there, but like Aubrey said, you've got multiple factors there. You can reduce some of the toxicity coming in through diet and lifestyle, and you got to open up those pathways, working on the gut and those type of things. So you're automatically doing a little bit of the detox type of things, but then getting into more advanced stuff and testing, through medical director program, we can help you out, and then the more advanced testing trainings are going to be coming up and released real soon.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Yep. Great. Thanks, Lisa, for calling. Look forward to reading your name off here in a few weeks, hopefully.
Thank you. Me too.
Right. Wonderful. All right. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left here, so I want to make sure we have enough time here to wrap anything up. No more hands raised. So, Aubrey, anything you want to kind of leave us with, or something for FDN people that are about to graduate or getting out there into any advice in any area that you want to give out to everybody?
Well, I think the advice I have for new practitioners or people who are trying to get into this field is that if you do have a passion for helping others, the most important thing you can do to help others is to really help yourself first and to really, really heal your own stuff, and that's a work in progress that continues to take place even as you become a practitioner. You're always going to have things that come up, and it's really important to practice what you preach and to follow your own programs and to really be the example that you're wanting to bring your clients to the level of, because if you're not doing your part with your own health goals, it does show through. So it's important to always keep growing and learning and applying what you know.
That's fantastic advice, and thanks for that, Aubrey, reminding us we got to be our own sort of best friends. Working on yourself is an amazing thing, and then you do get to share it. You'll feel more confident when you share it. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect, right? I mean, we all still working on our stuff.
I was doing this when I had type 2 diabetes. I had diabetes while I was practicing. You don't have to be, the picture of health, but striving towards that and following your own advice and working towards your own goals, it really does come through, and your passion grows because it's exciting when you feel the success and when you start to heal, and you're going to pass that excitement and that passion on to your clients and motivate them to really keep going because you're going to have that energy in you to do that.
Yep. Well, fantastic. Thanks a lot, and thanks, Brandon, for running another good interview and show and for getting Aubrey on, and hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and keep us posted. Feel free to write in your comments, suggestions. While we were on the show here, I posted on Facebook that you were on, Aubrey, so you might get a few inquiries there. Check out the...
Sure, no problem. I welcome it.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Good job.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.